Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Lori Smith on Blog Talk Radio. It is 5:30 in the morning, Calgary, Alberta time, bright and early, and I'm just having some coffee, and I'm glad to be here and to share this information with you. This is one child abuse survivor to another, and I hope you can get some valuable information here today. I found some great articles. I yesterday touched on the topic, just started the topic of child sexual abuse, and I found this information at a website called healthyplace.com. You can just type in your browser healthyplace.com, and you can bring that right up and look at it. There's some great information on all abuse, child abuse, domestic violence, sexual abuse, child sexual abuse, just all kinds of great information there. So I would highly recommend you check that website out. I do have a guest call-in number if you're interested in phoning in this morning. I'm only on 15 minutes, and this is a live internet streaming radio broadcast from blogtalkradio.com. And you can phone in on my guest call-in number if you like. That is 917-889-3736. And I have my chat window up as usual, and I got some stuff typed in there. I wanted to draw attention to a petition that's going around. It is to add cyberstalking to restraining orders, and this is very important. You could save someone's life by doing that. Cyberstalking is a crime, and in domestic violence and abuse issues, it can be deadly. So make sure you go and sign this petition. They need 5,000 signatures to make it a law, and I think they still need over 4,000 signatures. So I've signed it, and I do highly agree with it. If you can find this petition at www.gopetition.com, and just look for add cyberstalking to restraining orders. And because this is such a serious issue, right? Especially these days with all the internet harassment and cyberstalking going on. And I would highly recommend it. And because you don't want to be a victim of that yourself, and so just put yourself in someone else's shoes and think about how awful that would be, and how actually dangerous it really is. So I just wanted to continue on today talking about child sexual abuse. It's an issue that most people, find very uncomfortable talking about. If you've ever experienced it, it's horrible, and the survivors out there, you just have to stand strong with them and give them some support if you know anyone who has gone through child sexual abuse. And really, it's something that does need to be talked about because it's an ongoing issue. It's just going on all the time. And really, it's a real problem. It's a plague, and it's an epidemic on society. It has been for forever. So I really wanted to read some of this information that I found on this website about child sexual abuse. So yesterday we started looking at what the exact definition of child sexual abuse, and today I thought we'd look at. I didn't quite get to cover all that, so I wanted to look at the physical signs of child sexual abuse, and then there's some other information we can go over too. So I'll just start reading right from that page. I'm not a counselor, and I'm not able to give legal advice. I'm just here doing this Blog Talk Radio show because I wanted to share information that I found, in my own search for my own healing. So. Make sure you do reach out and get some help if you've been a victim or a survivor of child sexual abuse and you're having a tough time. There are great organizations out there, and make sure you do make the phone call. Don't suffer in silence. And if you know someone and you suspect someone is being abused, a child who's being sexually abused, make sure you reach out to find the proper information and really make the phone call. You could save that child's life. And so we'll look at physical signs of child sexual abuse. I'm just going to read right from the page. They may include sexually transmitted diseases such as gonorrhea. During an exam, a pediatrician may also notice changes, in the child's body. And if your child does reveal sexual abuse to you, the most important point is to take what your child says seriously. Many children who report sexual abuse are not believed. When a child's plea for help is ignored, the child may not risk telling again, right? As a result, the child could remain a victim of abuse for months or years. So this is a real problem. They did say that, if a child does tell you that they are being sexually abused, they usually are not making it up because they don't know about sex and all the different things that go along with it and the actual sexual acts. And if they tell you stuff, You need to take that seriously. Listen to your child's explanation for disclosing the abuse. Make sure you report the abuse and help your child to understand that the abuse is not his or her fault. Give lots of love, comfort, and reassurance. And I've seen lots of other websites out there that have some, this is just one, but there's lots and lots of resources on there on what to do if a child actually discloses abuse to you, and ways to handle it, and the next steps and what you do, right? Make sure you do get some information on that. It's very, very important. And if you are angry, make sure you let your child know you're not angry with him or her, right? Let your child know how brave they were to tell you, and that you understand how frightened and scared they feel. This is most important if the child has been abused by a close relative or family friend. Then tell someone yourself and get help, right? Talk to the child's pediatrician, a counselor, a police officer, a child protective services worker, or a teacher. Just anyone who works in the human services sector who can help you with this, right? This is such a serious problem. And the sources that they were using were some pretty good sources. They were using the National Clearinghouse on Child Abuse and Neglect Information, and National Library of Medicine, National Institutes of Health, lots of good references here. So this is a really good article. Often there are no obvious physical signs of child sexual abuse. Some signs can only be detected on a physical exam by a physician. It says sexually abused children may develop the following: unusual interest in or avoidance of all things of a sexual nature, sleep problems or nightmares. This is a continuation. This is the effects of child abuse, child sexual abuse on children. Depression or withdrawal from friends or family, seductiveness, statements that their bodies are dirty or damaged, or fear that there is something wrong with them in their bodies, right? Refusal to go to school, like if your child starts not wanting to go to school or having problems with their body, having nightmares and depression and stuff. These are little signs, like warning signs that you can look for. Secretiveness, aspects of sexual molestation in drawings, games, fantasies, right? So you want to be on the lookout. Unusual aggressiveness or suicidal behavior. Child sexual abusers can make the child extremely fearful of telling, and only when a special effort has helped the child to feel safe can the child talk freely. If a child says that he or she has been molested, parents should try to remain calm, and reassure the child that what happened was not their fault. Parents should seek a medical examination and psychiatric consultation. So this is, I'm telling you, we can't be more proactive. We really need to put a stop to child sexual abuse. And this society, when you look at the news and you see what's going on around the world, and especially even in just our own backyard, North America, right? It's just such a huge problem. And so I would just ask that you don't turn a blind eye and brush it off, really, because this has just got to stop. And you wouldn't want your child going through that, and you certainly wouldn't want to see someone else's child going through that. So it doesn't matter if you've ever experienced it or not. As a person on the planet, we really need to make this stop, right? This is just not right. So parents can prevent or lessen the chance of sexual abuse by telling children that if someone tries to touch your body and do things that make you feel funny, say no to that person and tell me right away. This is what they suggest here. Teaching children that respect does not mean blind obedience to adults and to authority. For example, don't tell children to always do everything the teacher or the babysitter tells you to do, right? Because they could be telling you to do something wrong and then you'd be doing it, right? I guess there's so many good resources out there for a good touch, bad touch, and this kind of stuff. And, that's so important to go over with your children if you have children, because you do want to make sure they understand, right, that this is a problem. And it just gives them something to go on, to go by, right? Encouraging professional prevention programs in the local school system. This is another way parents can prevent or lessen the chance of sexual abuse. And, we just really need to make sure that we're on top of this for our children, right? I don't have any children, but I know if I did, I'd be on the lookout. Let me tell you, child sexual abuse has been reported up to 80,000 times a year, but the number of unreported instances is far greater because the children are afraid to tell anyone what has happened, and the legal procedure for validating an episode is difficult. The problem should be identified and the abuse stopped, and the child should receive professional help. The long-term emotional and psychological damage of sexual abuse can be devastating to the child. Child sexual abuse can take place within the family, by a parent, step-parent, sibling, or other relative, or outside the home, for example, by a friend, neighbor, child care person, teacher, or stranger. It's anyone who has access to the child, right? Anyone who has, and see, this is the thing. When you see all this stuff in the paper about these children being abused, where was the child? In the care of a caregiver or a parent. These are people the children know or have, they've seen these people. They most, and not always. I mean, they did say it's about 80 cases, 8 out of 10 cases, and the rest are child abductions and just random acts of child sexual assault and child sexual abuse. But it's so serious that we cannot turn a blind eye and just walk away and say it's not my problem, because it really is. When sexual abuse has occurred, a child can develop a variety of distressing feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. So the psychological trauma of child sexual abuse. No child is psychologically prepared to cope with repeated sexual stimulation. Even a 2 or 3-year-old who cannot know the sexual activity is wrong will develop problems resulting from the inability to cope with this sexual abuse, right? So this is such a problem. And it says that the child of 5 or older who knows and cares for the abuser becomes trapped between affection or loyalty for the person and the sense that the sexual activities are terribly wrong. So if the child tries to break away from the sexual relationship, the abuser may threaten the child with violence or loss of love, and or loss of life too. When sexual abuse occurs within the family, the child may fear the anger, jealousy, or shame of other family members, or be afraid the family will break up if the secret is told. And if the child is being abused in the family, within the home as well, then they might feel that they'll be abused if they'll be mistreated if they do tell. So there's so many problems, right? A child who is the victim of prolonged sexual abuse usually develops low self-esteem, a feeling of worthlessness, and a dominant or distorted view of sex. The child may become withdrawn and mistrustful of adults and can become suicidal. Some children who have been sexually abused have difficulty relating to others except on sexually abused children and their families. Oh, where did this page go? Oh, sorry about that. And then we're back. Some sexually abused children become child abusers or prostitutes or have other serious problems when they reach adulthood. So this, it's just long-ranging effects, right? The effects are just so long-ranging, and it's such a problem. Make sure that we really need to become educated. There's not enough people talking about child sexual abuse, and because it's going on all the time, it needs to be talked about. So we're going to continue on with this the rest of the week, and I'll be back on tonight at 9:30. We have about a minute left, and I wanted to talk about, just share some resources with you. The Silver Braid organization, this is the Silver Braid Survivors of Sexual Exploitation Network. It's the voice for Voices for Justice Network. Started and founded by Ann Bissell. And they have safe homes for adults and minors, databases with 25 cities partnering, rescue and restore victims of human trafficking campaigns. There's this is a great organization, and it really kind of encompasses everything from domestic violence, sexual assault, sexual abuse, child sexual abuse, just everything to do with sexual exploitation and abuse. And I am a member, and I really would suggest that you go on their website at www.silverbraid.org, and they have they got so much great information. And if you are being abused right now, sexually abused, and you're a child, and or if you're listening to this, make sure that you tell someone, get some help. And if you're an adult who's suffered with child sexual abuse, I can't tell you enough. There's support groups out there. I belong to a NING group, and it's the Silver Braid. It's called the Silver Braid Survivors Support Group for Women of Sexual or Violent Abuse. And this is you can get a hold of me if you want that information. It's a NING group, and I would highly recommend just talking to someone. Don't keep that to yourself. You really want to reach out and get some help, get some professional help, because it's not your fault, and you didn't deserve it, and no one does. And I would just ask that you just reach out and get some good support. And We'll be back on tomorrow talking about child sexual abuse some more. I'll have some more information there for you. I hope you have a great day, and until then, I'll be back on at 9:30 tonight. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a good day.